Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Worth a Listen. I am your host, Chris Haney, and today, our first stop in the journey to buying your new car, we're going to visit with a chief financial officer of a credit union. His name is John Rossi, and he is going to share his story of purchasing new vehicles, his thoughts around what to look for, how to find that brand new ride. John, how you doing today, sir?
Doing well, thanks, Chris. Thanks for
Introduce
having me.
yourself for us and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you have such expertise in car buying.
Yeah, my name is John Rossi. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Texel Credit Union in Temple, Texas. I've been with the credit union for a little over 4 years, always in the finance space. And I'm a car guy. I enjoy cars and yeah.
Something our viewers may not know, but I know this. I noticed you drove up in a shiny new vehicle these past few months. Tell us a little bit about what your new vehicle purchase was.
Yeah, it's a shiny, new-to-me vehicle. It's a 2012 Ford Mustang.
Okay, well, give us a little bit more. I know it's more than just a Ford Mustang.
Yeah, it's a Shelby GT 500.
Okay, wow. So tell me about that. Was this a dream car for you?
It's something that I really liked growing up and was far out of reach to be able to afford a car like that when it was new in 2012.
It was always the Shelby GT?
I always liked that particular model.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Mustang with way too much power.
So tell me the story of your childhood, where when you first saw that vehicle, or give me that story. Where in your youth did this car show up and just make such an impact for you?
Well, when Ford changed the Mustang body style back to the retro style, I think it was the 2006 model year, and then maybe 07 or 08, the GT500
That's when they went
came
from
back out.
the boxier style to that curved.
Yeah, and they made
Gotcha.
it look more like the 60s Mustangs. My dad always took me and my two brothers to the New York Auto Show. We grew up in Connecticut, so it was a train ride down to the city, and we used to go every year in the spring. And so seeing those cars in the showroom lights was pretty cool, and that's when it was first coming back out.
I see. Okay, and so you're just like, hey, one day that's going to be me.
Yep.
And guess what? Today is the day.
Yeah.
So you've not always had that high-end premium car. Previous to that, what did you drive?
Yeah, in college, I drove a 1995 Geo Prism.
How long did you have the Geo Prism for?
I had it for a few years, and then I gave it to my younger brother.
Man,
Yeah.
I remember the Geo Prisms. Was yours the softback or the convertible one?
No, it was a hard top. It was sky blue. It had about 240,000 miles on it, but it was a great car. It did well in the snow in Connecticut. It got incredible gas mileage, got about 35 miles per gallon.
My cousin had a
great car.
yellow one. It was a convertible. I remember driving that around during high school in the convertible at night, and it was fantastic. But that Geo didn't cost you a whole lot, did it?
No, it cost $1,100.
$1,100, and I'm assuming you bought that used as well.
Yes, I did.
So that right there is exactly what I want to talk about. I really want to get down into your journey from a young college graduate driving a 2015 Geo to now a CFO driving a Mustang Shelby. Okay. Obviously, we can't all immediately afford the Mustang, correct? We've
No.
got to all start somewhere. So let's talk about that. Starting somewhere. How do we as consumers decide, top of the line, how do we decide what type of car we want as we're dreaming, I guess?
I would say start with two things. The first being, what do you need the car for? And the second being, what can you afford in terms of monthly payments and down payment?
What would you think would be most important there? The type of car or what you can afford?
I think it's a combination of the two.
Okay.
Because let's say you need your car for work. Let's say you mow lawns, so you do landscaping, and you need a truck for that. That's going to cost you significantly more than maybe a car that you would use just to commute to an office job. So I think they need to be taken into consideration together.
Kind of what your situation is. So if
Exactly.
I need something that's going to cost me a little bit more, I need to understand that, recognize that I'm about to make that large expense. But however, for the majority of us who maybe don't have that lawn mowing business, maybe we're just getting out of college, we just got our degree, we're looking at our first big job, or big boy job, or big girl job. and I need to get to work. I guess number one, we need to know pretty much what we can afford. How do you assess in your life what you can and can't afford?
I think it starts with looking at a basic budget, your income and expenses, and figuring out where a car fits into that. And there's multiple expenses that you really need to account for when you think about a car. It's not just the payment, which you can estimate using an online tool uh, based on what you think the car might cost and how long you want to finance for, the interest rate. We also need to think about what's the cost of car insurance. Car insurance in Texas is pretty expensive. We have a lot of uninsured drivers.
Sure
I think I
is.
saw a statistic recently that it's higher than any other state in the country. So we pay quite a bit for car insurance here. We also have hail and things like that that cause damage. Uh, Thinking about what type of car, you have to think about the fuel efficiency. How much is gas going to cost? And that's kind of a variable expense too, because as we learned the last few months, the price of gas can increase very quickly.
Yeah, it can. It is very variable, if you will.
Yes.
I go down to the gas station one week to go fill up my truck, and it's $65 to fill up my truck. And I go the next week, and I'm looking at the price, and it's like 75.
Yeah.
And so it really does fluctuate often, and so that is a good thing to look out for. Is there anything else we should look out for inside of our budget?
You want to think about maintenance too. And this one's a little bit harder to predict if it's a repair that might be out of the normal. But think about maintenance for oil changes, things that you know will recur at a regular interval. But then also, depending on what age, what brand you're going to buy, some have a better reputation for reliability than others. You want to have something in the back of your mind of if a major repair came up that I needed to pay for this car to continue to be operational, what might that cost and how would I fund that?
That's funny that you mentioned that because that is something that we as consumers probably don't really grasp when we buy a vehicle is are we buying a vehicle where its maintenance cost for a simple oil change is $40?
Yeah.
Are we buying a different vehicle, maybe made somewhere else that you have to bring into a specialized dealer to get a specialized oil change? And it may cost you double, triple what it would for maybe a domestic vehicle.
Yeah.
Um, you know, outside of those type of things, and it's funny is on Worth a Listen, we talk. I feel like budget is one of the most reoccurring topics that comes up in conversations every time we record, and I think it's super important to call out that anything in life, especially in car buying, budget is always important. Um, you know, as young consumers, there's one thing inside of young consumers that we always want to impress on people is live within your means, stay within your budget, because a lot of times if you buy outside of that budget, you're going to be stuck in that payment for quite a while.
Yep.
3 years may not seem like a long time, but when you are paying a monthly payment you can't afford for 3 straight years, we're not even talk about the 5 year, loans, the 6 year loans, those long-term loans, you're going to be stuck in that payment for a long time, which is a great impact to that budget and could put you in a situation where you have become outside of your means.
Yes.
When you started looking for a new car, John, where did you go? I guess your situation was a little different. You probably had to go search out on the internet and find probably the specific model you were looking for. How many different models did you find in the area?
I found this one in Austin. I found another similar one up in Dallas that I didn't end up driving up to take a look at.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a pretty targeted search because I knew the years that I was looking for. So I think outside of that, it's going to be a little bit more based on what your tolerance is to drive to a location that might be 2 or 3 hours away to get a deal on a car. But I start on cars.com and I pick a location radius to search. And then based on what type of car I might be looking for, I like it because you can filter down just by brand, or you can filter down to brand and model, and then even specific trims, mileage range, if you're buying a used car, year range. So you can get really granular with the specifics that you're looking for.
Okay.
I like to do that rather than go to a specific dealership.
So outside of just that Mustang, when you looked at other vehicles, how much research would you do on the vehicle itself before you even went to drive it?
I do a decent amount of research. I'll read Car and Driver, Motor Trend,
It is same.
auto publications
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I'm less of a reader, I'm more of a watcher. So a lot of times the YouTubes and
Yep.
stuff, that's where I go. I'll watch Car and Driver's YouTube channel.
They have a great channel.
They really do. Also, some of the things I really like to do is when, I can think about when I went to purchase vehicles for my children. I wanted to make sure that I put them in a safe vehicle. I wasn't necessarily tied to a certain brand. So I went out on the interwebs and I started Googling different cars. Budget vehicles are like economical vehicles for high school children. And what was super important to me was safety ratings. Secondary, obviously, was price. I'm not going to put my children in something super expensive, but I wanted something economical for them and safe. And we actually looked at several different brands of vehicles and then settled in on one particular one. But I wonder, do you do the same thing? Do you look at multiple brands of vehicles? Are you tied to a certain brand?
Not really. I will look at multiple brands of vehicles, and that's one of the nice things about Car and Driver, Motor Trend, any of those publications is you can look at like the class of vehicle. You could look for a midsize SUV and get an idea of where they stack rank them against each other. That doesn't mean they're
Agreed.
always right because it's the author's opinion as well, but it gives you a good idea.
I think you can also, in those stack rankings, you can also look at pricing. So
Yes.
obviously, as you're looking at something that's going to make you happy and feel good when you're going down the road, you're also getting the ability to say, hey, this SUV is going to cost me this. But if I go over to this dealership and buy this brand, man, they really like their vehicles a lot. And
Yes.
so it gives me the ability to start somewhere. Now that I've found a couple cars that I want to maybe test out, what do you think we should do next? Should we go to the dealership straight away to test drive?
I think there's a couple different methods you can go about here. One, you definitely could go test drive. You can be very upfront with them and let them know it's just a test drive and you're not ready to buy yet. That's certainly an option, especially if you're on the fence between a few different vehicles and you really want to get into them and see what it feels like to drive it first. If you're set on one, you could also begin negotiating before you even go into the dealership. You could reach out and try your hand at negotiating a price or however you want to make your deal work before you even go. And that way you can kind of get a feel if they won't really be flexible like you want them to. You might just move on to a different dealership.
You know what I've found myself doing lately, kind of leads into that, is I find myself and pretty soon the 2027 models are going to be coming out. I find myself usually around this time moseying over to car lots and looking inside the vehicle. I want to know what's coming out. I want to know what new things you're putting into the vehicle. If a new feature has been put on the vehicle, I want to drive it. I
Yeah.
want to see. I think this stems from kind of a old former life. I used to do cell phone sales. And so I would always see the new models coming out and getting super excited about it. And now that I don't do that anymore, and I need to fill that gap somewhere. And so I use vehicles for it. So I will find myself during the end of the year not really wanting to buy, don't even care, not even looking. I'm not going to really talk to you, salesperson, but I want to go see your new vehicle because I know in a couple years I'm going to need a vehicle, and I want to be able to kind of keep up with those trends. Um, let's talk about new versus used. Obviously, your Mustang was a used vehicle, but do you have a preference on new and used?
I don't really. Another car that I bought recently a couple of years ago that I kind of use as my daily. Um, it was new, but it was being used as a demo slash loaner car by the vehicle, or I mean,
Okay.
by the dealership. So they were selling it more at a used car price, even though it had never been titled before and only had a couple thousand miles on it. I'd recommend that as a happy medium.
Okay.
I think for most practical purposes, used is probably the way to go. And we can talk about depreciation if you want to get into that.
Well,
And
I actually want to talk a little bit more about new used dealers. So it seems like there's not always just a clear cut. This car is new. This car is used. You said a dealer demo. So there's also other types of I don't know vehicles that you can look at. What is a dealer demo actually?
yeah, so they were using this car as the demo vehicle for test drives, and then I think also loaning it out as a service vehicle. So when somebody had their car in for extended service, they would loan it out to the owner of the car that was in the shop for service as like a courtesy vehicle.
Are these cars marked different on the lot, or do you just have to get lucky? Kind of walk me through how you found out this was a dealer
It was
loaner.
marketed as a new car, but it had about 2,000 miles on it.
Okay.
And so that's a pretty good indicator that either something was maybe used by one of the sales managers as their personal get around for a little while with the dealer plate, or that it was being used as a demonstration vehicle or a courtesy loaner vehicle.
Gotcha. And you said you got a really good deal on that car?
Yeah, I ended up buying it for a little over 15% under the sticker price.
Under the sticker price, and only had 2,000 miles, but they were selling it as new.
Yeah, and it basically was a new car still.
But not really. It had 2,000 miles
Yeah,
on it.
somebody had driven it already.
Yeah, but okay, so 2,000 miles and you got it 15% under sticker.
Yeah.
Make that fit for me.
Yeah.
How is that possible? I think you mentioned the word depreciation. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so for me, that was a great trade-off to save that amount of money for only 2,000 miles, because to me, that basically is a new car still. But when you're buying something really new that's never been driven before, less than 100 miles on it, it's just been sitting on the lot for the most part, that vehicle is going to lose a certain amount of value as soon as you drive it off the lot because it's now titled in your name. It's a used car.
Okay.
That's depreciation is the loss of value of an asset over time. And for cars, this doesn't happen in a straight line over time. This happens, a significant amount of the loss of value happens up front when it becomes a used car for the first time.
So you're saying my value of the vehicle is up here. The moment I drive it off the lot, it kind of goes like so.
Yes.
And then as I drive, it kind of just trails off. So
Exactly.
So that's why dealer vehicles or loaners probably you can get a really good deal on, is because they have to recognize that depreciation immediately. This car's been driven. We cannot sell it for the full new price.
Yep.
Okay.
And for a new car, I mean, some people are adamant it's got to be new. They have to be the first one to have driven it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really a question that's up to the buyer, and it goes back to affordability. If you can afford the new price and that's important to you to be the first person to have ever bought it and you want no miles on it, that's great. Go for it.
Did they have it stickered lower, or was it stickered at the same price? As just through your negotiation, you were able to learn that it had some miles on it and that you negotiated that lower rate?
They had it listed at the lower price.
They had it listed.
Yes.
Okay.
So it still had the original window sticker with the MSRP, but they had it listed at the lower price.
Okay, perfect. So you would say dealerships are going to at least list those a little bit lower. So as you're searching on the internet, cars.com or even dealer websites, if you see car A and car B being the same car, same trim level, but car A is $10,000 less, you can say, hey, something's up with that car. Maybe let's go in and talk to the dealer about it. Come to find out it's a dealer loaner. They're going to give you a better deal on it.
Yeah, I would say look
Okay.
at the mileage, and if it has mileage listed, that's probably a good indication it's been used as a loaner or a demo.
And you feel like dealers will be pretty transparent about that? If you're looking for a car and they're like, hey, why is this car so much cheaper than the other one? They'll be like, hey, this was a loaner.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think in that particular case, that's easy to verify with the mileage too. I think there are maybe some other reasons that a car could be listed way below sticker, which could be, for example, a couple of years ago, we had quite a bit of hail. I know there were cars that were on the lot that got significantly damaged and had paintless dent repair, or I think in some cases they tried to sell them without being
they just
repaired. They sold them as is.
Mhm.
So if there is no apparent reason why a car would be listed so much less than a comparable car, I think it would be smart to ask.
Okay. Well, considering depreciation of vehicles, do I need to consider my car as like an investment?
I wouldn't consider a car an investment.
Okay.
When I think of an investment, I typically think of something that's going to gain in value or appreciate over time. And a car, unless it's a collectible or antique, something like that, for the kind of the normal cars that we're going to drive on a day-to-day, they are certainly not going to gain in value over time. They're going to lose value over time. So from that perspective, I would not say it's an investment.
So, okay, let me turn the table around on you then. And would you consider your purchase an investment?
No,
Okay.
because I'm driving it and adding to the mileage. And I would, even though it's a somewhat unique car, I would
Correct.
still expect it to lose value over time.
Okay, so you recognize the fact that what you purchased isn't something that's going to sit in a garage like Jay Leno's 5 billion vehicles.
No.
You were going to actively use it, maybe take it to a show here and there to have other people swoon, if you will, over
Yes.
it.
Yeah, the other people at Texel, the other members of the Mustang Club at Texel, which we have a couple.
So fun fact, we do have a Mustang club here, and I see you guys park next to each other, and every now and again. As a matter of fact, I saw the really cool July 4th picture
Yes.
that y'all had with the Mustangs and then our building with the flag behind it. It looked really good. So even you wouldn't consider that as an investment. Tell me then, for vehicles, at what point would that purchase be an investment?
I think if you were going to buy something classic, antique at auction or from a dealer, I think usually that type of sale would happen at auction, a specialized auction, and then park it in a climate-controlled garage and maybe only show it at car shows, maybe not even drive it to a car show, maybe trailer it to a car show, and you thought your plan was to sell it in the future at a higher price. I would consider that an investment.
Got it. So basically, it's just a picture painting on the wall. I wake up, drink my coffee while I stand in front of the hood and just be like, man, this is a good car.
Yeah, it's like a museum piece.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. I really liked what you said about demo and loaners. I'm so stuck on that because I don't think I've ever went to a dealership where I hunting for that type of deal. I'm kind of different. I'm a big new car fan. I think it was my parents. My parents always raised me to stay away from used vehicles, purchase a new vehicle. I think their strategy and kind of what I guess I've adopted is new vehicles have generally better quality to them at mile zero, if you will. There's going to be some manufacturer warranty.
Yes.
You can purchase some extended warranty for it, but there's some help in case something happens to that vehicle. My parents always feared the unknown when it came to used vehicles, and I've gotten that fear.
Yeah, makes sense.
Used vehicles to me are an anomaly. Number one, if it's a new vehicle that's 2 years old, well, I'm always skeptical. I'm like, well, what's wrong with this car? You know, why am I going to pick up your old car that you didn't want to drive? And so I've always been under the mindset. So I'll be honest, I've never purchased used. It's always been new vehicles. Now, whether or not I buy warranties, that's a whole nother story and a whole nother episode for a different time. But I value that new component to the vehicles. And it seems like you are maybe not opposite, but you tend to like used vehicles or you appreciate used vehicles.
I appreciate the used vehicle because I think if you find the right one, you can get a little bit more value out of it. But you're absolutely right with the warranty. There is value there. You kind of have a grace period. If you have a 3-year, 36,000 mile bumper to bumper, which is pretty standard, you have that kind of 36,000 mile grace period of if something really goes wrong, you have something to fall back on. If you buy used, sometimes if it's a late model used car, just depending on the dealership, you can get a warranty. It's usually shorter and less miles. But like with that Mustang, I had to sign one of the papers. You're buying it as is.
Yep. The as is paperwork.
The as is paperwork.
We owe you nothing.
Yes.
Yep, I know that paperwork. Okay. So I guess that does lead into, again, knowing what you want. You said miles. I'm putting a lot of miles on the vehicle. If I'm getting a used vehicle with maybe 80, 90,000 miles on it, but I drive 50 miles one way or maybe even 50 miles a day for work, that's a lot of miles to put on a vehicle, especially a high mileage vehicle. So you kind of want to consider even the mileage that you drive, whether or not it leans you towards or steers you towards, if you will, a new or used vehicle. You have any opinions on used vehicles and the trim package or the comfort package inside, the trim levels, I guess?
I don't, honestly. I'm not a big bells and whistles guy.
Okay.
So I tend to go more towards base. If I pay up for a higher trim, it's usually performance based.
Okay.
That's the main reason for the Shelby version of the Mustang is
the performance of it, that extra
the engine and the
horsepower.
transmission, the actual bells and whistles on the inside, all the new cars with lane keep assist and self-driving, like in the Tesla case, just doesn't do it for me. This personal preference.
See, and this is good then, because I'm exactly opposite. It is the perks inside. Listen, I'll be honest, and this, there will come a time where we will not have to do this. And I cannot wait for that day. I would love, I drive so much during the day. I drive
a long commute.
I'm a 50-mile one-way commute, so 100 miles a day. I would love to get those 2 hours of my day to not have to hold that wheel and just to you know, I have a family member who has a self-driving Tesla, and I sat in it. It was jarring at first, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
They've got a long way to go. self-driving, I think, has a really, really long way to go, but I am a big inside the car perk. A lot of times when I buy vehicles, I do look at the base model, and then I'm like, well, I don't know. I need leather. And so I typically will I will find a vehicle in my price range, and then I will look at its probably minimum package to get leather seating. I think they always hold up a little bit better than cloth seating. So the resale value tends, in my opinion, to be a little bit better. So you're on the performance side. I'm on the gotta look cool side.
Yeah.
But we each have our own thing. And I think that's something important to call out is not every consumer is going to be the same. Even, your wants, needs in a vehicle are going to be different than my wants, needs in a vehicle. And furthermore, probably even the way we can purchase vehicles may be different. I think a lot about the saying cash is king. What's your opinion on buying a car in cash? Is there some advantageous thing to purchasing a vehicle in cash?
There is, in that you won't pay interest over time over the course of the loan, especially today with rates being much higher than they were 4 or 5 years ago. The interest expense on an auto loan can add up pretty significantly. However, for most of us, it's not realistic to go out with what cars cost and just write a check for that dollar amount.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not sure how many people have just, $30,000 of disposable income to go get a vehicle. I think base models, probably after tax, title, and license, you're looking still at 20 something $1,000 for a base model. Now, I do remember when you could get away with about $10,000 on a brand new vehicle. I remember those days. Those days are long gone.
They don't exist anymore.
I don't know many of us who have $20,000 to $25,000 of disposable income just to immediately purchase a vehicle. And so I think financing is a great call out. What about my trade-ins? Do you deal with trade-ins? Do you like trade-ins? Would you trade in your Mustang if you were looking for another vehicle? Or is that something where you've decided, hey, this is mine, I'm never giving it up, I'm just going to make it a fixture in my yard if I need to?
Yeah, I think that one is probably mine indefinitely.
Okay.
My other car is a Jeep. That's kind of what I use to commute every day. And that one will get traded in eventually when it's just time for a new car. That's the one that I bought that was a loaner. So I've had it for a couple of years now. I do generally trade in, even though if you look at the book value of a car, it's usually better financially to try to sell it yourself. I do end up trading because it's so much easier.
I am the same way. I could put my car online. I could advertise it. But you know what I have to deal with? I'm going to have to deal with you coming to my house and coming to look at the car. Then you're going to touch my car.
Yeah.
Then you're going to want me to turn it on. Then you want to drive. And then we're going to go through this awkward back and forth of you telling me how horrible this car is. And you don't even want to buy my car. And then I'm like, but I want to sell it to you. And I don't want to do that either. I do. I bring my car to the dealership. I give it to them. And now, don't get me wrong, I will negotiate with the dealership on the price value of my vehicle.
Yes.
I think one of the most important things we were talking before the show, we were talking about the sales tax aspect of trading in your vehicle and why trading in a vehicle and negotiating that price was so advantageous for consumers. Remind us why that was.
Yeah, so in Texas and in most states, you do pay sales tax on the purchase of a car. In Texas, it's 6.25%.
That's a lot.
When you're talking about the price of a car, 6.25% is pretty significant. The catch is when you're trading in a car, you only pay the sales tax on the additional value. So the value of the car you're purchasing minus the value of the car you're trading in. That's the portion you pay sales tax on, not the full purchase price of the new car if you're trading.
Got it. Yeah, I always like to get out of my purchases paying as little as possible, and especially in sales tax. I think we pay a lot of taxes everywhere, and every little bit of savings that we can get is always good for us. All right, so John, leave me with this. If you could give kind of our listeners some encouragement on where to find their new vehicle, give us some encouragement on how to find and just make me feel good about going out there and looking for my next new vehicle.
Yeah, if you don't know what you want brand and model wise, I think Motor Trend, Car and Driver are a great place to start. You can filter by vehicle category, 4-door sedan, midsize SUV, kind of get an idea of where things stack up price wise, feature wise. I think if you go back into the archives, if you're looking for a used car, you can even find some articles from when that car was new on those websites in the archives and see how it stacked up when it was new. I think if you know the brand and model you're looking for, cars.com, Auto Trader, one of those websites is a good place to start. Set your location radius that you want to search and just see what's out there.
Awesome. Great words of wisdom from John. I appreciate it, sir. Well, hey, that'll end our conversation today, but that's not going to stop you and I. I'd like to bring you on again at some point in time, if you would. I think I want to talk with you a little bit more about what we should expect when we go and talk to a sales representative.
Sure.
Negotiation is one of those things that some of us love to do. Some of us really hate doing. And I think I want to bring you back so we can talk about strategies on negotiating, what to think about when we're face to face with that sales rep. That's going to be a conversation for another time.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, folks, there you have it. I really appreciate you joining me today for this conversation. Join us again next time where we bring John back to talk about negotiating car rates. As always, my name is Chris Haney. I am host of Worth a Listen, and I hope today was worth your time.